I'm here with Nancy Gavilanes. She's a sought-after speaker, writer, and passionate evangelist and life coach with a heart for encouraging people as they walk by faith and live their God-given dreams. Nancy has authored 5 Christian living books and has a master's degree in journalism from New York University. She's written for various publications, including the New York Times and Charisma website. Nancy's taught at the New York School of the Bible and has been on short-term mission trips to 5 countries. She's hosted several events and has spoken to numerous groups, including to Christians working at the United Nations and students at Nyack College. She's given her brief testimony to her home church, Times Square Church. Nancy is the host of the Abounding Faith for Today podcast, and her new book is called Feisty Faith, Trusting God Day by Day. So Nancy, it's so wonderful to have you here with us today.
Oh, thank you, Brian, so much. It's so wonderful to be here with you today.
Well, you've got a really interesting background, so I'd love for you to tell people kind of, where you came from and how you got to where you are today.
Sure. I'd be happy to. So I say, looking back now, that writing was a gift from God. I didn't understand it, but it came so natural to me, just like smiling and laughing. And I would write in my journals and diaries. And in 5th grade, I was writing little magazines at home. When I wasn't playing dolls with my sister, I was making little magazines out of loose leaf paper, and I enjoyed it. So fast forward, when it was time to go to school, I actually majored in journalism and got my master's in a very short amount of time, got my master's in journalism from NYU. As you mentioned, I was working and writing for the New York Times and also working at Latina magazine. And as my journalism career was soaring, I was far from God. So it's a whole story that I share in one of my books about how God called me out of journalism and how that started me on this journey, this faith journey of what was my life going to look like outside of journalism? And that included teaching English at a Christian school, doing communications for many years at a nonprofit, and then now working with the books that I'm working on.
Wow, what a journey. Everyone's got such an interesting journey and saga, of how they came to be doing this. And it's just always interesting to hear. Yeah. So before we get into the new book, can you tell us more about the previous books that you've published?
Sure. Well, can I show them to you? I have
Absolutely.
Them. Okay, great. So the first 3, I call them the trio. That's Waiting on God Well, How to Prevent Breaking Down in Your Way to Your Breakthrough. Then Abounding Faith. This is my first devotional, actually. 30 Bible Heroes Who Will Inspire You to Believe God for the Impossible. And Crossing Your Jordan River, How to Possess and Prosper in Your Promised Land. They all came out the spring of 3 years in a row, actually, 2015, 2016, 2017. And they are a product of just some of the lessons that I learned as I was waiting on God and waiting for breakthroughs. I just realized that we're all waiting on God for something. So it's not a matter of if we'll wait on God, but how. And so the devotional, it's 30 Bible Heroes who helped to inspire me when I needed to believe God for the impossible. And there's like short snippets of the different Bible heroes. And then Crossing Your Jordan River is the story of Joshua, which I find great encouragement from. And so those are the first 3 books. And in 2018, I published By Faith, Adventures and Reflections on Walking with God Here and Abroad. And this is my testimony of how the Lord chased me down in Sydney, Australia, how he called me to evangelism in Israel, how I've seen him work on 6 continents, basically. So that's my testimony in there, and mission stories and stories of travels. So there's also a chapter on living your God-given dreams, and also a discussion guide so that small groups can work together and work through that. Living by faith is challenging. So I like to encourage people in their faith.
Very cool. Very cool. So tell us about Feisty Faith, the newest one.
Yes, thank you. And this is actually, it just launched on Monday. So ta-da!
Hey, congratulations.
Trusting God Day by Day. It's a 365-day devotional. So it's much larger than my previous one. And you can just take a look. The entries vary in size, but they are power packed. And here's the back if you want to just take a look here. But it is 365 verses that I've been standing on that have encouraged me. And there's different themes, including faith, hope, love, wisdom, evangelism, prayer, patience, all the different joy. And it's really just a daily devotional to encourage people to walk by faith and to fight the good fight of faith. That's why it's feisty, to encourage people to deepen in their walk with God.
So how did that particular book come about?
So this book, I would say that I actually call these two the companion books, because this is a story of how I've seen God work in my life, but this is the story of how I've had the courage to do everything that I've done, just verses that I've stood upon and really drawn strength from. So I wrote it in a way so that the reader feels like the author is speaking right to them, sitting right there with them as a trusted confidant, a sister in Christ, a friend. We all know that we're all going, it was written before the pandemic. So just imagine, we all need our faith strengthened and encouraged no matter what, pandemic or not. So I wrote it to just really encourage those who are discouraged, hurting, maybe even doubting. So that the book just came about just from all, you'll see that there are some verses that are in all 5 books. It's just a lifeline for me, lots of verses that I've stood on.
So earlier in your career, you really had a successful journalism, career going, and you decided to leave that, and can you tell us a little bit about how that happened?
Yes. Well, it was about 2 years after I had given my life to the Lord. And actually, this was my prayer. I was alone in Sydney, Australia, in Olympic Park. And my prayer was, God, I can't do anything else but serve you the rest of my life. So those were huge words. And I meant them, but I didn't know what that would look like. So about 2 years later, I felt the Lord just drawing me to lay down my pen, to lay down journalism. It was an idol for me. I would interview Olympians and celebrities, and it was all about chasing the byline. Where could I get published in? And so the way I look at it, I was making my plans and asking God to bless them. So it's kind of backwards. So I got the courage, the Lord gave me the courage to lay down journalism, and my writing went into hiding for years. It was just behind the scenes, and or else I would be emailing friends, and then I started eventually blogging, and actually I felt him calling me to pick up my pen and write for his glory. But that was a long process, like I said. And so one of the major turning points, I would say, is that I was already blogging and I was thinking about writing a book, but I wasn't sure what I was going to be writing about. But I saw that Our Daily Bread was having a contest, an online contest for their readers. And I entered and I won. So
Oh, congratulations. That's cool.
So I took that as confirmation that I was on the right track, that I was headed in the right direction, because I had been reading Our Daily Bread devotionals over the years. And I'm like, that's kind of how I think. That's kind of how I write. I saw a connection to them. So that was one of the turning points. I said, okay, Lord, I guess I am on the right track. So, but it obviously hasn't been an easy journey since then, but I don't miss journalism. I am grateful for that background. I'm grateful for all that I learned and experienced, and it has helped me in this season of my life. But I really felt like I experienced so much in such a short period of time that I felt like God was like, I hope you enjoyed that, because I have work for you to do. So,
So one of the things I'm terribly impressed about is that you self-published, independent published all of your books.
yes.
Which I think is just wonderful and impressive. And I'd love for you to share with our audience what that was like.
Yes,
What you learned from it, what the pros and cons are. Do you have any second thoughts or?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I would say for book 1, so I knew I got to this point where I knew that I had a message to share. And at that point, ebooks were pretty popular. So I just figured, let me just do an ebook. That's simple enough. That's not like a big commitment or anything. But as I started sharing that with people, they started saying, well, hey, how can I get a signed copy? I thought, from me? Like, wait, what? I started looking into different options of how to actually get a physical book printed. And so that has been an amazing journey, actually. I'm so glad this option wasn't there many years ago. And so the books actually, as I said, they came out one year after another, and the first 3 are kind of slim, but they have like place where people can journal and really just interact with the books. And so I just felt like this is the way they needed to look like. And of course, I worked with an editor and I worked with a cover designer, the same cover designer actually, and worked with somebody to help with the layout. So my journalism background really kicked in. I really kind of feel like the little girl doing little magazines in 5th grade, just at a much higher level. And so I realized that these messages needed to get out. And I didn't really have any connections to book publishers or the publishing industry. And so I just kind of DIY'd it, but in the most professional way that I could. And so I'm so grateful for how these books have touched readers and how God has opened doors. Like you'd be surprised. Well, with this book, Crossing Your Jordan River. No, actually, I'll start with this one. As you mentioned, so the last 2 summers, this summer and last summer, I taught a class at the New York School of the Bible based on this devotional. Mm-hmm. And so actually, so this summer, we were meeting online and I had a student from Taiwan. So the books are in 4 countries now, actually. But we were meeting right at the height of when the pandemic and the protests and everything else. And here we were talking about and encouraging each other in faith. And next summer, I will be teaching at the New York School of the Bible again with Crossing Your Jordan River. So I'm grateful. I wouldn't change things. These are the steps that the Lord wanted me to take. They are, let's see, some of the advantages, I would say, you get to just share your message, and also pretty quickly. I mean, it does take me about a year or so to work on each of the books, but and you have a say in the cover and the layout and design. So in that aspect, that's wonderful. I would say one of the disadvantages is just not having that marketing machine behind you. So always, I just say that it takes a village to spread the word about these books. And yet I'm so grateful for how they are continuing to touch lives all over the world. Praise God. And so, and also it's not that I'm opposed to traditional publishing, and I'm looking forward to those doors opening as well, but I am grateful for this set of 5.
So I'm really curious about how you do your marketing, and how do you build awareness about your work?
Right. So it's a mix of posting it on social media. So I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, as well as my blog and my podcast and my YouTube channel. So that's the communications in me and the journalist in me coming through, because many writers, like, we just want to write. And in my journalism days, like, that was all I just had to write the articles. I didn't have to promote them. I didn't have to work with the sales team or anything. I did work with the photographers and the layout designers and all of that, the other editors. But so this has been an interesting journey. And then also just, so spreading the word with partners, networking with different people, doing interviews like this as well. So that's kind of, I've also done live events. So in the past, I've done book launches and book signings and all of that. So it's sort of a mix of everything.
Good. Well, you're really out there, as I say, and active. And, I think that's what it takes.
Right.
Do a lot of experimenting and see which avenues are most productive.
Exactly. And I understand for writers that it is a challenge. Many of us are introverted, we're private, we're personal. Like, we just want to write the book and we just want to hand it off and we just want it to get into the hands of readers. But even now, from what I understand, even with traditional publishing, you still have to have that marketing piece to it. You still have to help to spread the word about the book.
Absolutely.
So I think this is all a great experience.
So which of the independent publishing platforms did you use?
Amazon. So first it was CreateSpace and now KDP.
Okay. Cool.
Yes.
And so have you tried advertising your books on Amazon?
I haven't. I've thought of it, and maybe that is the next step, but I haven't done much advertising, paid advertising. It's more promotional and sort of, I guess media driven. Yeah.
Sure. Mm-hmm. So obviously you've got a lot of experience writing now. What is your writing process like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it depends on the project that I'm working on and the phase, whether it's the beginning phase, the middle, or the final stages. But in general, usually with the ideas, it usually comes from things that I've been pondering. maybe that I've been blogging about, just themes that I feel like the Lord's been placing on my heart, that usually then expands to, I'll just start writing. I just really like to just let the words flow, like a very like rough first draft, if anything. And then I need to like take a break from it and then go back with fresh eyes and just really work on it. And so I know that sometimes writers want to get it right in the first draft, and that's impossible. You always have to give it a fresh look and really look at it and fine tune it and finesse it. And so I would say, ideally, I'm pretty good with working at, like, say, if I could work an hour at a time, like, that's wonderful. But there are some times, especially with full-time jobs or other things that you're working on, even if it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes, you just kind of chip away at it. So yeah, that's part of the writing process, I say. And also, like, some of it is just journaling and outlining. I'm still hard copy, pen and paper kind of person. And then once I get on the computer, that's when I can just let it flow more.
Good, good. So at the end of the day, what type of impact would you like your books to have?
At the end of the day, I would love for these books to just inspire and encourage and empower people, regardless of their background, where they live, where they're from. I just love, my readers are very diverse, different backgrounds, different ages, different life stages, different churches. And so, as I mentioned, the books are right now in 4 countries and 4 continents, and I think 13 states. I would love that to expand. I would also love to one day maybe have them translated into different languages too, and just really just amplify the reach. And again, I would love to then cross over into traditional publishing as well and just continue to inspire through writing. As I said, I believe that this is a gift, and this communications gift that the Lord's given me. And I just want to impact and inspire and encourage people in their faith. And I do have, just looking ahead, I do have some good news that it's still early, but I do want to share that.
I was just going to ask you about, because I mean, obviously from your track record, you don't sit still. So I'm sure you've got some things coming. So what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, one, I am already drafting and thinking about ideas for book 6 or beyond, but also I am in the works with the content development team at Our Daily Bread's Voices.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, yeah. Goodness. That's some of my friends.
Yes. So I look forward to having more great news in the future. But as of right now, yes, as I mentioned, Our Daily Bread has been a great supporter and great friend over the years. And so we'll see what doors the Lord opens from here.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, Nancy, I'm really glad that you actually contacted me, and, we set up this interview, and I'm so happy to learn about all your work. And again, I'm so impressed with, how you've taken the bull by the horn, so to speak, and, launched your own business, and have 5 books to show for it. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. And I am also doing writing coaching too, because when people find out that I write books, and without even knowing my whole background, they'll start asking me, they'll say like, oh, I'm working on a book, or I've always wanted to write a book. And so I am open to helping people. I do have a 1-hour strategy call, write that book strategy call, that if people have burning questions. Again, I know that especially indie publishing, it's a whole different frontier over there, but just like independent filmmakers too. Like, I hope that at some point indie authors get sort of that same recognition that indie screenwriters do and filmmakers. It's just another avenue. Not that there's anything wrong with traditional publishing, but sometimes you just have this message burning on your heart that you need to share. And you can wait for a publisher or an agent to approve and accept it, or you can follow the path of indie publishing and see where that leads.
So tell everyone what your website is.
Aboundingfaith.com.
Aboundingfaith.com.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And my name is Nancy Gavilanes, as you mentioned, and I'm on social media, and I have a podcast blog, as you mentioned, and so many ways to connect. So I'd love to hear from people.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Nancy, for joining us. It's really a pleasure to meet you, and look forward to watching your career continue to blossom.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was so nice talking to you, Brian, and God bless you with all the work that you're doing.
And same to you. Thank you.
Thank you.